Hello, everyone, and welcome to Betweenplays Stock Market Strategies. And here we have Alex, Crypto with Alex, episode number 2. And of course, this is going to be recurring episodes. And we're going to be, like I mentioned last time, going over tons of different types of cryptos. And at the same time, we will be going over eventually NFTs, metaverse, into this whole new digital world that we have going on over here. And of course, DeFi and stuff like that. So Al, how you doing today, man?
Doing fantastic.
So
It's rainy outside, but it's good.
it's true. It's crazy because I went to this place that Lac de Pay. Anyways, it's a campground site, but it's fully loaded. Like honestly, it's pretty awesome. It's great for kids. It's even good for adults. And I was driving back just so I can do this. It's an hour ride, and the whole hour ride to come back, it's just one massive cloud coverage from end to end. It's nuts. It's crazy. I think it's gonna be raining all day today. But you know what? We're inside. It's nice and warm, so we're not. We're lucky we don't have this rain on our head. Um, Last week we were talking about crypto, so it was our first episode. We're talking about crypto. We went a little bit off into other things, which all deals with where the world might be going, and we've been talking about tons of stuff for over 20 years, and we pretty much got a lot of things right. And even if other people, might have said other things, but we did. And now we're talking about this crypto, and I think this is the only time where we agree on something and not agree on something, because like I'm more of the naysayer on, although like look, I could have made a lot of money on Bitcoin back in the day in 2012 and whatnot, 2013, when it was worth like what, you know quarters and stuff like that. Yeah, crying today, which also goes to your $10,000 pizza. I'm sure that guy is crying also. All right.
Yeah, most expensive pizza in history.
Most expensive pizza in history.
I don't
Exactly.
remember if it was 10,000, but it was something like crazy. I mean, the amount.
Yeah, the amount is just astronomical. Yeah, we
Yeah,
understand though, because we had paid it in Bitcoin, if I remember correctly, right? Paid in
I
Bitcoin for pizza.
it was actually many bitcoins for pizza.
Yeah,
So imagine.
exactly. Not just one, many Bitcoins.
Yeah,
Well, anyways, today if you put one Bitcoin, what is that? 29,000 now Canadian,
yeah,
something like that.
Canadian. Yeah, it's like 20, it's around 23,000 ish US right now. So
Yeah, but that's a pretty massive drop from where it was. But also
right.
it was a huge climb in 2020, 2021. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, so basically I'm more than naysayer because I do believe in a digital currency in the future, because we went over that in the first, episode of like, bartering systems, and then, it went into like, gold, but you didn't want to carry too much gold, want to buy a house or something, you have this big chunk of gold on you or whatever. You could, back in the day, if you look at the Wild West days, you weren't going to travel. You'd have to have like, a king and a parade of soldiers around you if you had like a chest of gold. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it wasn't the way continue going in that direction when it comes to currency, right? Then coins, right? Roman Empire, we went over all that stuff. And then, we have bills. So we went from paper bills that people would rip sometimes and whatever and think it's funny or burn, which you weren't allowed to do. But anyways, and then, went more into a digital form of plasticized, right? And one, so that way we have that money supply and not, being destroyed so easily over time, but also for fraud because of the fact that you could put little, things inside there, little digital stuff there to see if it would, so it's not so easy to counterfeit. So I do believe that in the future, digital currency is a must. It's just it's a transition. But why do you think the time is now for like things like Bitcoin or Ethereum, digital, any kind of digital issue? What's the opportunities?
Because it's not just a currency. That's the thing. So I think it started off like that as Bitcoin being a currency, and it's going to take over. What really crypto in general, we're gonna go more into detail another time about Bitcoin and all the different currencies, but it's a brand new asset class. So that's the most important thing that people have to understand.
Okay.
When I was a kid back then, but my neighbor got me into Nasdaq trading and everything like that. So back then it was all new. I actually had a few bucks into the game, so I remember very clearly how it was. I remember the write up, remember the write down.
Okay.
I very much remember back in the day. There's as I said last time, they said it was something, it was nothing, right? It was just passage, and
Yeah.
that these stocks were no good, and the only thing that was good is the Dow Jones, right? Well, we are in it right now, I think, for the cryptos. I think right now we're in 2022, but let's say we're like in 2002 right now.
Okay.
I don't know if you get me what I'm saying
I get you.
compared to the Nasdaq. So we're witnessing, is the question, we witnessed, or are we witnessing right now, the crash of Amazon, slash, are we, compared to the crash of Bitcoin?
Okay.
Amazon went from $100 to $10. Are we at the $10 right now, or are we, at 20, $30 for Amazon, and we still have ways to go, and the crash is not
Yeah.
over?
Yeah.
That's the question.
But
Have
anyway,
it.
but when it comes to that, I mean, who, even the greatest like Warren Buffett, you can't time the market to that point where we know where
Absolutely.
the lowest point is. We can estimate, we can
Yeah.
guesstimate, but yeah, you're
But
right.
even there, I mean, if you buy Amazon at $20, are you laughing right now?
Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah, of course, absolutely, and that's why people like Warren Buffett will say things like when like let's say when he was buying into airlines when it was going down, and they were like, "Oh, you lost millions or billions, whatever, because he got in at a certain level, and then it continued to go down." And he's like, "No, I didn't. I made." And he knows why, because even if it's going to go back down, he knows with over time it's going to go back to its normal trading levels as long as everything opens up. So for him, it's like, what are you kidding me? I got this on a deal. You can't time the market. You don't know if it's going to go down under $15 or
Yeah,
$20. You just
exactly.
from where it was, your historical graphs, you do some trending, all of a sudden you're like, I might not be hitting the bottom, but I know where I am at. I know this person, I know the company's balance sheet or whatever. Well, that's for stocks. And then you're like, well, I can sort of guesstimate that it's probably gonna go up an extra $30. So hell, you putting in a billion even, you
So
take
that's the important thing, right? So
yeah,
Warren Buffett, what does he do? He doesn't hedge his bets. He doesn't, take debt to buy his stuff. It's cash, right? So
yeah,
I think that that's the big problem with crypto also, is that it's such a high stakes, and some people see it as almost like a casino type of thing. But I mean, if you buy and you don't do like the rest, leverage, in crypto, it's wild wild west. You're talking about the wild wild west, right?
yeah,
That's what crypto is. It's
yeah.
um it's people taking 100 to 1 loans and crazy stuff like that. I mean, and now we're witnessing. That's why I'm saying why now, because all those places that many of the places that were taking 100 to 1 loans are now belly up. There's a few of them, I won't name them, but
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious that now they're going bankrupt and things like that.
Yeah, there's
So when people are fearful, obviously that's another reason why crypto now. When people are fearful and they're saying this is shit, and look at crypto. I just had a conversation the other day, and they're saying, like, good time to buy in crypto, ha ha ha. Well, yeah, it's normal reaction for someone that just lost money and never seen the market how it is. I mean, I remember last time the cycle happened and then there was a
yeah.
crash. I was saying, forget about it. Like now it's complete. I'm completely. I can't believe that crypto is where it's going. And then finally, like, you know what? I got to stick with my guns and and invest into this. And I made good money with the last wave up. And that's the thinking that we have to have. Is I know what the product is. I know what the future holds, and forget about everything else and just see it as a discount, you know, see
So
it as, yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
so I'm looking at the Bitcoin Canadian right now, and I'm looking at historical levels, right? Historical levels. I'm looking at $500 back in 2015 or whatever. If I go, gosh, I even see $292 here. 2015. When did I? Hold on a second. I'm trying to remember when we were talking. at one point about getting to Bitcoin was at 10 grand, right? Remember that time, like 2016 and stuff? Remember it was like a high at one point. Yeah, there we go. It was a 2010 grand, 2017. Yeah, 10 grand. So, if we would have like 1 year before, 2015 at 292, by time is 2017, we had it at 17,000 already. So that's pretty freaking crazy, the amount of returns that we would have had on that. And
Mhm.
now, like, I'm going through the trending on this, and I'm seeing that if I just go like really quick with my finger and I look for an average from, let's say, 2016, from, let's say, like from 5,000 on, we could say that there's something around 13 to 15,000. That's the average. Then, of course, it shot up in 2020, 85,000 Canadian dollars. It's absolutely freaking insane. And now today, we were just at 31, but we're at 30,984. So it's very tricky because you're going, well, does it still have another 15,000 to go down? Because S&P 500 pretty much regulated itself out, but we're totally in this whole new different world where we
Yeah.
can't really judge it that way.
So the way we have to judge it is look at all the company. Look, you talked about gold. Gold, how old is it? It's pretty freaking old, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's more of a mature market. It's been
Yeah.
around for God knows how. And you have stock markets, the Dow. Look at the Dow compared to Nasdaq again. Dow is older than the Nasdaq. So it's like comparing teens to adults, right? How does a teen react or act? He's more up and downs, right? Mood swings, like that. The adult usually is more stable.
Yeah, usually.
Then you compare crypto, they're
Yeah.
kids. It's kids. They're children, right? The Bitcoin, which is the oldest of the kids, is what, 12, 13 years old now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's not
So
that
when you
old.
look at
Pretty
through
young.
that lens, yeah, I mean they're up and down, and for sure that's going to go up and down a lot. Um, so to answer your question, is there more down for Bitcoin itself? Because right now things might change. It might be Ethereum, the way that to look at the market. But right now, the one that leads is still Bitcoin. And if you look at Bitcoin historically, from the peak down to the bottom, you have an 85% retracement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
85.
when you look at it that way, 85% would
Yeah.
bring you around 10-ish to 12-ish K
Okay.
as a possible low. But here's the thing.
Yes.
There's two main things. I
Okay.
still think that it might go to 12K, but right now we're the famous 20K, which was the last all-time high,
Yes, that's right.
held
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
much.
Oh, yeah, it was good. It was good.
Well, it wicked down to 17,000,
Yeah.
went back up ish, but that's the line to hold. So, and historically, because that's all you got right is history. If you go to historically, Bitcoin didn't go down its all-time high. It didn't go lower than that. Is it going to do it this time? No, I
Yeah.
think it's going to crash down, but who knows? Who knows? But there's two big possibilities that now it held. It's going to go back up, or it's going to go down to the 12K. In my opinion, I don't see how it can go lower, but who knows?
If it goes down to 12K, if it did, would enough see, like, who's holding the Bitcoin now? You know what I mean? Like, how do we know? You know what I mean? Because when you look at stocks and stuff like that, you can go and check and you can verify and you can say, oh well, I know that BlackRock's holding this much, Vanguard's holding that much, and you can see how much percentage, especially if they're in the bigger ownerships and stuff like that. But how how do we know who's holding Bitcoin? Is there
You
is
know,
there a way to know that, or
you can't put names on it, but you can see, it's open source, right? So this address or this group of people, if you wish, they have this amount, or you can find out that there have been that famous Satoshi holding there, that there are some Bitcoins that haven't been touched in ever, right? Some of them are lost. So, but we know like now that public companies are out, they have to say how much they have, right? So you look at Tesla, you look at these public companies. They have to say how much they sold. They have to give out some information that we didn't have before.
So yeah, Tesla. That's a great example. So Tesla, I mean, he's taking Dogecoin, right? I mean, is he still taking Dogecoin for Tesla and stuff like that?
I think
And
he's just playing around with it, but I think, yeah, I know for a fact that they had BTC and they sold it.
that's correct. Yes, I remember this whole big thing with his brother and everything like that. That it had made the
Yeah,
news that there was sort of
they sold some. I shouldn't say
yeah,
they sold it. They sold some. He still
correct.
owns,
Yes,
and you don't know how much he has for SpaceX and everything like that.
yeah, and you know what? And I really don't care how much a person has or doesn't have. Let's say if they want to sell their stuff, like screw it, let them sell their stuff. I mean, if someone said, "Oh, you have to hold on to your stuff," like I'm like, "Why? It's my stuff." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to sell my house tomorrow. I'll sell my house tomorrow. Like, no one say. So, a power to him. I mean, he wants to sell a little bit of it or sell a lot of it. Like, that's his business. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, it should be no one's business to, and just because people will follow someone, I mean, and then they sell and don't sell. Like, I mean, like, come on, really? Like, I believe that everybody, and I say it here all the time, everybody has to do their own, do their own diligence, and they have to, come to the, realization that in the end, do your research, right? And that's what I always say at the end: research,
Yeah.
prepare, plan, execute. You're, not you, but the people that are following anyone out there. Well, you can't just blindly follow
No,
and that's why I created this whole thing anyways. Like, what I mean? Like, so my kids could watch and eventually, and they understand that you got to do the research. You have to learn how to read things or evaluate things. And that's what we're doing here now with you, right? When it comes to crypto, we're trying to understand it, right? We're trying to, to get the viewers to like say, okay, well, let's be insightful on this and stuff like that. So, and that actually will take me to Wild Wild West,
yeah,
regulations versus not regulations.
yeah.
Like,
That's a big thing.
yeah,
That's the
like
big thing.
what? Because what's weird? All right, Al, what I find weird is this. When we were talking about this eons ago, you know, Bitcoin, and that was a big one, right? Because it was Bitcoin, Ripple, and Ethereum. If I remember the big three.
Mostly Ethereum second. Yeah,
Yeah. And then yes, it's true. And then after that, we were looking at Ripple as
yeah,
XRP because it came out. We're like, oh, that could probably be very
yeah.
interesting. Yes, exactly. Yes. So it was Bitcoin, Ethereum, and it was XRP Ripple. And yeah, I remember you brought that to my attention back in the day, and that was what 217 something around there 272
215 actually. Yeah,
around that. Yeah, it's right.
yeah.
So anyway, and then I'm just going, okay, well, we didn't know how to I didn't know how to buy it. I'm like, well, this is retarded. How do you get this stuff? But what a lot of people, including myself, right, is that, and it'll go into the regulations, right? I'm sort of like trying to make this whole circle of like Bitcoin, you could, and then some people didn't know where to buy it. Do
Exactly.
this. It's very complicated and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. You have to be this
Mhm.
digital wonder brain, all right, or else forget about it. You weren't getting it back in the day and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, where is it gonna go? Al, today it's like part of like the whole Yahoo Finance. It's all up there. It doesn't matter if you're on Bloomberg, CNBC,
It's all
on
there.
Yahoo Finance. Bitcoin, it just pop up just like as if it's a normal trading stock or whatever. Because you have, if you look at your graphs on the top, you'll have the S&P 500, you'll have the TSX, you'll have the Dow, you have the Nasdaqs, you'll have your 10-year bonds, you'll have your
Yeah,
gold futures, which is at like 1,799 or something like that right now. And then right next to you have your Bitcoin, Canadian or Bitcoin US, and then you have your Canadian versus your American dollar. But it's up there. Who would have thought that it would have ever been like in that world?
well, I
Back
mean,
in the day, no one. I don't.
it actually
Maybe some
evolved
people,
even more than
like some.
that. You go on CNBC, I go on the because I like the way it's made. It's easier to look at, and
Yeah.
it used to be just Bitcoin. Now it's there's a new thing that's written cryptocurrency right next to precious metals and stuff like that. Why? Because it's a new market. It's the new market. It's some place where the big money are going to allocate some of their money, because they know the power of diversification, and they're going to diversify in it. I mean, look at Kevin O'Leary. He's used to have I think it was 3% in Bitcoin when he told everyone that it was pretty much not good. but whatever. So he had 3% and then 5%, and now he's up to around 10% or something like that.
Wow.
So, but that's not, he's not going all in for
No, no,
obviously not.
it's a bit of his money.
But
It's a
look at
bit,
this. I mean, this is a tiny pool. It's a $1 trillion market, right? It's tiny, you know what, ish, right? It goes up and down, but that's nothing compared to everything else, right? It's
yeah.
nothing compared to precious metals. It's nothing compared to stocks. It's absolutely 100% nothing compared to bonds. So
But
imagine if a bit of that capital goes into it,
yeah,
forget about it. But the thing is, so here's a big thing. It's regulation. It's
that's right.
super important, right?
Because now
But
it's up
what's
there with those other ones there. Like
right?
we never thought, most people never thought it would be trading, you know what I mean? Like that it would be, anywhere in the market class area. And now it is.
Yep.
Even back in the day, the brainiacs, the digital techs, all right, they were always saying, "Oh, this is a tech thing. This is the nerds, or whatever, and like I could put myself in that. Maybe I'm not great in IT, but Big Bang Theory was one of my favorite shows of all times. Okay, like couldn't get me off that. I'm trying to even buy the whole set. So and big comic book reader, and I love that world. All right. I love the binary system. The whole it would always intrigued me, but I went into a different career path. Right. So retired police officer. But the thing is that I never would have thought, and I would have believed that it would have been a nerd thing, a digital, you know, never part of like the stock market per se. And look, so now where's regulation going to go on this?
So there's big attacks, right? So the whole well, the Celsius thing, I can say it. I mean, they're going bankrupt in the whole nine yards, but they were attacked because they were playing with people's money, right? Obvious or ish, and they were taking too much of gambles. So right now, what happened is one of the reasons why it crashed so much is companies like that. People had a lot of money into it. They had a lot of faith into it. The whole DeFi thing, promising I don't know how much yields and stuff like that. It was beautiful. It was great. It was fantastic, and now it's coming apart. I think what's going on is that you need real institutions, that when the big money, the big banks and whatnot, they get into it, where they have backing and you have the insurance that you have when you buy stocks. If you lose some money, in stocks, and you get some um, fraud in or stuff like that, you have insurance. So the big money, once they have that, okay, and they feel comfortable to put that money into that market, that's when we're going to see big time gains, okay. And I think that regulation, which is pretty funny because the whole Bitcoin idea was because it was trying to go counter trend to to the big money, right? But now it needs the big money for the next leg up. So it's
Yeah.
pretty funny, but um, I think that's one of the reasons why it's very important to right now, have a bit money of your money into that. Not I'm not saying put all your eggs in one basket, but slowly, as they say, DCA in. It might go up, might go down, but at least you have exposure because this market is just can go kaboom. It can go kaboom to the downside, but it can go kaboom to the
Yeah,
very, very
which comes
stratosphere.
absolutely, which comes back to diversification of portfolio.
Yeah,
Don't, like you can go overweight on some stuff if ever you might see an opportunity on your portfolio, but make sure at least, in your personal you're still not killing yourself. So same thing goes here is diversifying with digital assets.
hmm
Now regulation. Okay, let's go back to regulation because once again, I'm going to just state it. I never thought ever once that I would have seen Bitcoin, Canadian US up there on the tickers, um, scrolling through like all these other stuff. It's just there. And it's not like I put it there. It's like it's not part of Yahoo. It's part of Yahoo Finance. It's part of CNBC or whatever you use. It's just even when you go into your most brokerages and stuff like that, it'll talk about it. It'll be there. So it's definitely now part of the system because it's in the system. You could see it. It's there. It's part of the system. You can't.
100%.
No one can deny anymore. Even a person that's going, well, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. Well, you can't deny that it's part of the system.
But that's the thing. Which one is? you know,
It,
and that's what they're trying right now to try to clean up. You know, there's the government, and rightly so. They're looking at it and saying, yeah, well, this one's pretty much a scam. This one's okay. This one's that's well, that we're gonna re-talk about that, but that's a whole, you know,
yeah,
the
because
whole Ripple
we're
thing.
gonna go over
That's
we're
the
gonna
whole
go
Ripple is
over
about.
yeah,
Right.
about which ones are doing what. Like
Yeah.
I know eventually, because I know I like this one called the Graph because it's sort of like Google, but in the digital asset world, it does the same thing. Like it takes up like the searches and all this kind of stuff. It has a lot of back into it, but when it comes to the graph, it looks at the nodes, so where everything like interlinks and stuff like that. So it's supposed to be great for engineers and stuff, and future engineers, electronic, because they'll be able to find things more easily and stuff like that. Anyways, it looks like a great YouTube. We'll talk about that when we get there. But hey, but then you have others that like, what are they for? What are they for? We don't know what they're for. Um, Cardano looks to be a very interesting one too. I mean, we definitely going to talk about that one, that's for sure. Um, but regulation, is that going to come from this whole Ripple thing? I mean, we should definitely, do a couple of shows on this whole Ripple thing that's going on at sea, because anyone in the crypto world, I believe we need to go on to that, because is this going to settle in court where it creates some kind of jurisprudence, a
Yeah.
precedence? Like, is
Well, I mean,
that
and but
possibility?
mostly, also want to see what's going on with Bitcoin. Are they going to put it as a commodity? You know, that could be also another big thing. I mean, if Bitcoin becomes a commodity, and it's, you know, like in Canada, we have the ETFs, right? Which is a
Yeah.
big thing. We are like test subjects, if you wish, almost, you know. And I think the Americans and the other countries are checking out. It's like, how is this thing working? Is it working well? That's the big thing, right? And you have Germany, and then you have Brazil that has ETF. So it's positioned very strategically. And now the US are always they're always pushing it up, back and back and back and back, the whole ETF thing. But if that gets approved and it works out, for me, that's actually the biggest thing,
For the
more
ET.
than the Ripple case and everything like that, because all the big money, all they know about is what they know about Bitcoin
Yeah.
and maybe Ethereum. The rest, forget about it. I mean, they're not interested that much. But I wanted to talk about also the worries,
Yeah.
because things are everything isn't nice and rosy, and
Yeah.
everything perfect. There's reasons why there's, a bear market right now. Obviously, it has to do with cycles. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah, absolutely, big
cyclical.
time. Yeah, yeah.
But also, it's the first time that we see of all the existence of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, that we see that the Fed is not as lenient to the market. It's tightening. Okay, it's not. Long story short, it's not printing as much funny money as it used to, right?
You
So
mean
in
that
'08, when
you're not talking about during the pandemic time. You're talking about 2009, 2010, like
with
after
the QE,
2008. Okay.
yeah, with the QE. So the pandemic was like QE infinity, right? It was so much money, but back then, '08, '09, where there's a lot of printing by the Fed and the central bank. So there was a lot of easy money. So when you have like free slash easy money, people are ready to take risks.
Yes.
So it's risk on. Now, it's the first time, they're saying, we have two big problems. We have inflation,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. We have big time inflation, and then we have, the interest rates, so, and the stocks to worry about, and housing. So what do we do? Do we, cut into the quote unquote rich people with their pensions, and we leave the normal people with the inflation and having to buy their stuff 10 times more than they used to? What do we do? So I think what they're doing now is they're trying everything to put down inflation, and the repercussion of it is, recession, right? Well, Bitcoin never went through a recession ever. So how low can it go? So that's the big, obviously the big worry,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons I think it's going to go past that famous 20,000 down to the 12K. I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah. Well, it should
But
be
so
good.
that's the thing. So are we in the eye of the storm? Is it like nice and smooth right now? It was like big time. The bear market was brutal, absolutely brutal. It crashed from 69 US to 23, right? Or 17. Are we in the storm eye, or is it going to keep on going down? That's the big question.
Well, at the PDAC, I got to talking to a lot of people that have been in the industry for a very long time, older than myself, and they've been through these cycles many times. And one of the things that one of these people stated to me is that yeah, this is normal what's going on. The stock market crashing, and they're just taking back all the money they printed out. And then once that stabilizes, then we'll just get back to normal, and then we'll have a bull market for a few years after that again, a good 4 8 years.
That's
So
what I'm
like,
hoping for. That's what I think is going to happen. And if or when whatever that happens, that's why I say crypto is the thing. It's the place where you're going to have the most alpha for your money. That's where you get alpha gains. You know, sure you can have penny stocks that can go up in all sorts of um, domains. You have mining, obviously mining stocks can go kaboom to the upside. Tech stocks and whatnot, but crypto is the place where you get the most alpha if you do it correctly.
so basically, you know, studying a lot of the market, let's just say. All right, let's just say let's not pick, one. Let's not pick the Nasdaq or the Dow or whatever. Just say studying the market. There's always been something to invest in that's new, whether it was like food, tulips, back in the day, and then you get like some kind of new technology that comes out. Then it was the internet, 95. You see it start going up, and then you have the dot-com bubble bust, because and that all. So you have in certain times, in order to have your growth of your stock market, what I've noticed is that even between 2000 to 2008, I mean, there wasn't really much new technology, except for we did transition out of like cathode ray tubes, big heavy TV sets and whatnot, into like flat screens. So there was a newer technology emerging. There was money going through, but it seemed like what really brought the market up and everything was more like the housing market that in the United States. And that's why you had your crash of 2008. It seemed like it stagnated after. It took like 2 years anyways for it to go down from the dot-com bust all the way down. It took about 2 years. It was a slow grind. And then it slowly started coming, and then all of a sudden more with the real estate. 2008, well, that's easy because you can tell from 2008 on, after that crash, well, you have iPhones, that a whole new world. You can't even compare to before 2010 to this world we live in today. They're two completely separate worlds. Before the iPhone, I mean, that was like almost like we could almost say we're Neanderthals compared to what the kids learned. Everything is there. You don't even have to remember anything anymore, right? So the thing is this: what is going to be that new rise for your new, like, 4 to 8? Usually, it takes about a while for it to have that. Is it going to be digital assets? What's
NFTs.
gonna, what I mean?
Um,
That,
who knows? I mean, you're talking about the 2008 on, and when booming, and nothing happened before that. But when you think about it, Google started out during those years after the crash. Then Amazon was building up his base even
yeah,
more because it was
but
back then. It was only
they were all slow.
selling books,
Yeah.
right? So after the crash, it started to do other things and
When did
started.
PayPal come out?
I think I don't want to say anything, but
No, but
it's
PayPal,
not. But I
I
think
think
it's 05 or something. But I'm not.
oh five, but it was slow, right? Because I remember that I would not put my credit card on there. We talked about this
No,
last time.
forget about
But
it. Yeah,
everything happened with the iPhone.
yeah.
Whether you had Google, because I remember using AOL. That was probably in the 90s. Then I remember using whatever, a whole bunch of, I don't even remember them anymore, right? Because Google just took over like crazy. But when we got our freaking iPhones, that's when everything went absolutely ballistic. Even Amazon, it was
But
after your iPhone, because
don't
there's
forget, Apple
on
used
there
to be,
too.
those computers that nobody wanted to use that were in the schools, in primary schools, right?
Yeah,
So
because of
nobody
their
wanted to touch
because of their
them.
language. Yeah, because of the
Yeah, yeah.
language that they used, and yeah, it
And
wasn't
everyone was on PCs, right? Everyone wanted
everyone.
Windows. That was the thing. So it wasn't cool, Apple.
No,
But Apple didn't just go like that all of a sudden. It actually created its base. It was working out. What was its market was, and then Steve Jobs was a genius, and then
Oh,
and
genius.
then boom. But that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I mean, all these companies, they didn't go like ballistic right away. It
No,
was
no, it
it
went
was
2008 to
slow.
2000 and I think 17 there was a little bit of a dip, and then
Mm,
it went back up, and then of course forget about 2020 was just absolutely maddening, but that's because
yeah.
of CRB payments that were coming through, and I mean people were investing in stock market. Also, people didn't really know how to get on the stock market previous all those years, and then all of a sudden everybody knew how to get into the stock market. It was like just became so easy on your phone. Click, click, click. Just answer this, answer that. You could trade now. It was okay, great. This is amazing.
Well, that's the other thing. You put your finger on it is, look at cryptos, right? So now you can buy, like I said, ETFs, or you
Yeah,
can go in Wealth Simple. For Canadians, a lot it's easier, right?
yeah,
But so it's getting now you can buy cryptos like you can buy stocks.
crazy.
So
Yeah,
that's huge. That's huge. That's huge. So
yeah,
right now, I mean, this is what I've been waiting for all these years, honestly, is when can I take my money from my stocks and can I put it into a quote unquote legit, stock exchange or stockbroker or whatnot.
yeah.
And we're there right now,
Isn't that
right?
crazy?
So you got to look back and think, when we were having these discussions, or like, yeah, this is for like, really, really good people with stocks, with IT, sorry, knowledge and stuff like that. Look at Mount Gox, what happened. People are losing their shirts and whatnot. But we're there now. We're there where big institutions are going to go, and they're going to put their money in, in secure places that are, and if they get hacked, you have insurance and the whole 9 yards. And that's what people are looking for, and the individual, and especially and most importantly, the companies,
Oh, hell
the
yeah.
big money.
Hell yeah.
That's what you want. Forget about me and you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the big money.
And that's
They're not gonna. They're gonna. You really think that the big money are gonna? They're gonna have people paid to look at their codes and their words and their different words that they have, and then they have their, and then they have their private keys, and they're gonna store it up somewhere in a bank or in their vaults, and forget about it. It's way too much trouble. It's way too much trouble.
yeah.
They're never gonna do that
No.
ever. Only the individual does it.
Yeah.
So they absolutely need regulation. It's 100%, and they
Yeah.
need places to secure it. That's what they need.
Yeah, you know what? Because I know you're aware of this, but for all the whoever's watching, we also do a show that we have Sandeep Panazar on, who's in IT, and this is a great question that I'm going to actually bring up with him when it comes to that kind of security and regulations, and to see what kind of infrastructure that we have there, because that's going to be a great question for him actually, because it goes more into the IT sector. But to end off the show, I was thinking, Al, that we definitely should be, looking at this Ripple SEC a little closer. Would it interest you to do maybe one or two shows on this whole Ripple thing, and evaluate to see where we might think this is gonna go?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think it's super important. I think it's a battle between the institutions, and not the institutions, the government, and crypto companies.
Yeah,
And actually, to see, is it a company? Is it not a company? Is it a security? Is it not a security?
yeah,
Yeah, it's very important. It's super
it's
important. What's going to happen through it? Yeah, it's as if not more important than what's going on with Ethereum right now, which is another huge thing with the merge.
oh yeah,
We're going to talk about that, but that's a big thing. Ethereum could flip Bitcoin, could be actually more valuable than Bitcoin.
that's crazy.
I
I
really
didn't
do
know that.
believe it can happen. Bitcoin, what's going on? There's like Lightning Network and everything like that. What's going to go? But yeah, I think obviously the top three subjects right now are those three. That's
Okay, well
beyond
that's
shadow of a doubt.
okay, so that's perfect. So let's do that. And what I'll try to do is, for the viewers out there, I'm gonna try to get in touch with because there's a lawyer. I seen him go on a show. See if he'll jump on, because while we're doing all our research and stuff like that, it would be great to be able to have him on a panel, and that we can ask him a few questions and stuff, so our viewers are able to see have the insight of this person that's directly involved in trying to figure out what is going on, because actually he wants to win the case for XRP. So I'm really curious to see what that person has to say. So we could do a panel on that.
That'd be great.
All right. So you know what, Al? On that note, I think we went over a lot of stuff today, and let's do our next show on SEC and Ripple.
Perfect.
It might actually take 2-3 shows, and we'll see if we can get the lawyer on here, or maybe other people in this area with Ripple to come on as a panel, and we can co-host that one together if we get a panel going.
Good
All right.
stuff.
So for everyone out there, thanks for watching Between Play Stock Market Strategies. Always remember to research, prepare, plan, execute, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks, Al.
Bye bye.
Everyone out there, just taking 2 seconds of your time and asking you to hit the subscribe and the like button. I'd like to also direct you to betweenplays.com, www.betweenplays.com, where we put up many different articles, and go to our Twitter account for like really quick information at betweenplays1. As we say here, our motto: research, prepare, plan, execute. Always do your due diligence, and stay strong, everybody. Stay strong.